In this massive rush to get AI into everything, we're kind of overlooking a huge danger. It's fragility. And no, I'm not talking about the usual stuff like a server crashing or the network going down. It's something way more subtle and honestly a lot more frightening. So let me ask you this, and I want you to really think about it. What happens when the intelligence running your entire business gets sick? We all have plans for when systems crash, right? But this isn't a hardware problem. This is a corruption of the very brain, the very logic that's making decisions for you. And that is a whole different ballgame. Yeah, this isn't about a big dramatic outage. It's not a crash, it's a subtle systemic corruption. We're talking about a system that keeps working. It doesn't just shut down, it just starts getting things wrong, quietly, in ways that seem perfectly plausible, and it happens everywhere at once. This is the new kind of failure we absolutely have to get our heads around. Okay, so to really get a handle on this risk, we first have to break down a super important difference. How human teams fail versus how AI systems fail. They're not the same at all. And this really lays it all out. On one side, you've got human systems. Think about it. They're distributed, right? If one person on a team makes a mistake, it's usually a local problem. The rest of the team can spot it, they can compensate, they can fix it. But then you look at a centralized AI. When it gets corrupted, the failure isn't local. Oh no, it's global, it's silent, and it's systemic. It's like a poison that infects every single decision it touches, all at the same time. So, what does it even mean for an AI to get sick? I mean, obviously it's not catching a cold, but the metaphor of a virus, that is an incredibly powerful way to understand this danger. The two words you really got to focus on here are plausible and accumulating. The AI's answers, its outputs, they still look totally reasonable. A pricing model might be off by just a tiny fraction of a percent. A logistics system might start making a few slightly worse choices. Nothing sets off the alarm bells, right? But that damage, it's building up, quietly, over thousands, maybe even millions of decisions. And this infection can come from all sorts of places. Take data poisoning, for example. That's where bad data secretly teaches the AI a warped version of reality. Or even scarier, feedback contamination. That's where the AI starts learning from its own bad outputs, basically reinforcing its own mistakes over and over again in this horrible downward spiral. All right, so the first thing any IT pro thinks when a system gets corrupted is simple, right? Just restore from backup. Well, with AI, that assumption isn't just wrong, it's dangerously wrong. And for pretty much all other software, that works like a charm. You reload the code, restore the database, boom. You roll back to a time when you knew everything was working great. It's clean, it's reliable, it's what we've always done. But here's the thing. AI does not work like this. It's not some static piece of code. It's a learning system. It's constantly growing, constantly changing based on what it sees in the real world. And this gets right to the heart of the paradox. If your AI is actually learning anything, then rolling it back to last week's version, well, you're literally destroying knowledge. You're wiping out all the experience it's gained since then. You're basically being forced to make your own system dumber just to fix it. And it gets worse, because now you've dropped this restored AI into today's world, but it's working with yesterday's assumptions. The market's changed, your customers have changed, but the AI is operating on old news. That mismatch between its old knowledge and today's reality, it can cause it to fail all over again, right away, just in a totally new and unexpected way. Okay, fine. So you can't restore it. What's the next logical step? Just swap it out with a fresh copy, right? Well, that leads us to another massive problem. You are replacing a failing system with its identical twin. Think about it. Your backup model, it was probably trained on the exact same data. It was probably built by the same company, using the same methods as the one that just failed. It has the exact same hidden flaws and vulnerabilities. We call this monoculture risk, and it basically means your backup plan isn't really a plan at all. And don't forget, the failure we're talking about isn't some giant obvious crash. It's this slow, quiet drift away from reality. The AI just starts to, slightly misprice risk, or it subtly biases decisions, or it misprioritizes resources just a little bit. Any single decision looks totally fine on its own, but when you add them all up, they're slowly steering your entire company right off a cliff. This is where we hit the myth of self-correction. We have this idea that we can just retrain the AI on new data and it'll get better. But what if What if the new data is the model's own bad outputs? If that happens, the AI isn't healing itself. It's literally drinking its own poison. It's becoming more and more confident in its own flawed view of the world.
So if backups are a bad idea and replacing the model is a trap, where does that leave us? What's the answer? Well, we have to stop thinking about recovery after a failure and start designing for resilience from day one. And that means we have to completely change what we think is important.
Look, for so long, we've been obsessed with intelligence, efficiency, and automation. We want the smartest, fastest, most hands-off AI possible. But here's the core mistake we're all making. We're assuming that intelligence automatically means resilience. It doesn't, not even close. What we actually need is resilience, diversity, human oversight, and a healthy dose of verification instead of just blind trust.
So what does that actually look like? Well, for starters, it means having multiple, independent models that can basically check each other's work. It means building in clear off switches, real human override points. And this one is so important. It means making sure your old school manual systems still work. You need something to fall back on when, not if, the intelligence fails.
And that brings us right back to where we started, that fundamental difference. Humans, we get sick, but we recover, we adapt. These big, centralized, single-minded systems, they don't recover. They just collapse. So in the end, the real danger here isn't some sci-fi robot rebellion. It's our own quiet assumption that intelligence is just another piece of software you can install and forget about. As we build more and more of our world on top of AI, we have to remember this one thing. Efficiency, sure, it's powerful. But resilience, that's survival.